and urgent tasks, the effective accomplishment of which can only be ensured by enhanced cooperation. The next was the Bucharest Convention on the Protection of Black Sea against Pollution. Signed in Bucharest on April 1992, this agreement was signed and ratified to please particularly 6 nation states: Bulgaria, Georgia, Romania, the Russian Federation, Turkey, and Ukraine. The residents situated in these areas were conflicted as to how to maintain the purity of the Black Sea. However, this convention laid out a plan for the people belonging to the countries around the Black Sea, as well as the islands situated within the region. The OSPA Convention. The oil spill prevention, administration, and response. The main points of this convention are 4. They are as follows: the Convention for the Protection of the Marine Environment of the Northeast Atlantic, the prevention and elimination of pollution from offshore sources, the prevention and elimination of pollution from land-based sources, and the assessment of the quality of the marine environment. The next is the Rhine River Basin Convention. This is the map of the Rhine River on the European continent. The Rhine River Basin Convention was signed on 12 April 1999 by representatives of the government of 5 Rhine bordering countries: France, Germany, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and Switzerland. The river is primarily used for navigation and industrial and agricultural processes, disposal of municipal water waste, and as a source of hydropower production and the drinking water supply. To conclude, I would like to say that the application and the execution of these treaties led to drastic positive changes throughout the years that followed. Therefore, this paper has included initiatives that the citizens of the earth can take to move forward in order to preserve the biodiversity of the earth, taking into account the reforms in water management. These water conventions have shaped the functioning of the world today. They hold great importance and contain lessons that countries throughout the world can learn. Thank you. Now I'll be taking questions.
Okay.
I request the chair, if they have any questions, they can ask the participant.
Thank you for your nice presentation. I wish to know, you have presented a number of environmental agreements on water here. I wish to know about the Bonn Agreement. What do your opinion about the Bonn Agreement?
Ma'am, I think it was one of the most important, especially because it came out in such a tumultuous time when there were so many political inconsistencies, and Bonn was in West Germany, which could have become the hot zone of Cold War at any time. And with the impending threat of a nuclear war, Bonn water was used, like iodine tablets, water, these things were used to contain things like nuclear energy. So it was very important for them to save water from the Bonn and in order to protect their citizens. So Bonn became a center for water resources and their consumption and preservation.
Okay.
We can move on, Aisha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Ms. Rishu Mala presenting on evolution of international laws based on the UN Convention for environment sustainability over the years?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, is the screen is visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Very good afternoon to all. Thank you for having me. My name is Rishu Mala and I am full-time research scholar at Himachal Pradesh University, Shimla. And today I am going to be speaking to you about the evolution of international laws based on the UN Conventions for Environmental Sustainability over the years. To begin with the topic, it is important to know about the environment sustainability. According to the dictionary meanings, Webster Dictionary, the environment means the conditions by which we are surrounded. And the sustainable means able to be used without being completely used up or destroyed. From these meanings, we can infer that the environment sustainability is a responsibility to conserve natural resources and protect the global ecosystems to support health and well-being for now and also for the future. According to the economichelp.org blog, environmental sustainability is concerned with whether environmental resources will be protected and maintained for the future generations or not. And according to the blog, they said that environmental sustainability can be achieved by uh, these of the things, that is by shifting to renewable sources, by protecting the health of the ecosystems, by avoiding the excess of pollution, by targeting the welfare, that is economic and social welfare both, by making economic decisions based on the long-term consequences. Now, in order to understand the growth of the international environment law, we need to know that the international environment law is a domain that refers to the world in the protection of our environment. The growth can be seen from the beginning of the 1970s, and with the advent of the 1972 convention, that is the Stockholm Conference, which was held in Sweden, and after that, now in after 2015, now the targeting to achieve the sustainable development goals by 2030. The historic evolution of the international law on environmental sustainability can be studied majorly in three phases, that is the traditional era, modern era, and the postmodern era. The traditional era can be seen before coming of the Stockholm Conference, that is from 1900 to 1972, and modern era can be seen by the advent of the Stockholm Declaration, and which was held in 1972. From 1992 to 2012 and going on, the Rio Declaration and the Sustainable Development Goals, which were adopted in 2015. These were the major milestones which were achieved for the protection of the environment internationally. In 1972, the Stockholm Declaration. In 1872, when the Rutland Commission was set up, and in 1992, when the Earth Summit in Rio, as a result of Rutland Commission and Agenda 21 was came. In 2002, after the 10 years of the Rio Declaration, the World Summit on the Sustainable Development also talks about the protection of international environment. And after that, 2005, and during the time of 2005 and 2015, when the Millennium Development Goals were adopted, they also talked about the protection of environment internationally. In 2000, when after the 20 years of the Rio Declaration, the Sustainable Development Goals were born at the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development in Rio de Janeiro under the theme of the future we want. In 2015, the Sustainable Development Goals were adopted, and 169 targets were asked to achieve. These are the SDG Pillars under the head of peace, prosperity, people, partnership, and the planet. As we can see that the planet is about a commitment for the preservation of our common future for the common home for the future generation. Under this head, we can learn that there are following relevant sustainable development goal targets related to the environment and environmental sustainability. Goal 6, Goal 7, Goal 9, and Goal 11, 12, Goal 13, Goal 14, and Goal 15 briefly talks about the protection of environment and achieving the internationally the environmental sustainability. As we can see that Goal 6 talks about ensuring the access to water and sanitation for all. Goal 7 talks about ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Goal 9 talks about building a resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. Goal 11 talks about making cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Likewise, Goal 15 provides that to protect, restore, and promote a sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems sustainably and manage the forest, biodiversity, etc. And the major leading environmental authorities which were established by the United Nations or the UN General Assembly was in 1972 the United Nations Environment Program was established, and with it has the mission to provide a leadership and encourage partnership in caring for the environment by inspiring, informing, and enabling nations and people to improve their quality of life without compromising that of the future generation. In 1992, the UN Commission on Sustainable Development was established in order to ensure the effective follow-up of the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, which is also popularly known as the Earth Summit. And at last, I would like to conclude by saying that the international environment law is a set of rules and regulations of the international law that governs the relations between the followers and actors of the international law in order to protect the environment. And the turning point we can say that was the Stockholm Conference, which was signed in 1902, and after that the Rio Declaration of 1992, and after that in 2015 the Sustainable Development Goals, which were adopted to make the environment sustainable. And however, there were in this process many of the obstacles and limitations like environmental issues and national preferences were also faced, but the established strong and efficient international institutions must exercise the necessary competence and capacity to advance the environmental objectives in order to accelerate the process of achieving the environmental sustainability. And at last, I would like to thank the dignitaries and the chair for having me, and I'm grateful for your time. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for your nice presentation. And
Thank
what's
you
your
so
opinion
much.
about this implementation of these laws? Can we
Sorry, ma'am?
achieve the goals by 2030? Can we achieve these goals by 2030? What is your opinion?
In my opinion, till 2030, it is very hard to achieve all these goals, but with other 10 or 20 years, we can definitely achieve these goals if we work for them.
Okay.
Can you highlight what two key
I would
hindrances?
like to take a moment.
Yes.
I was just asking, can you highlight two key hindrances that prevent us from achieving these goals in 2030?
Ma'am, I'm not able to hear your voice.
Am I audible?
Mithali ma'am,
Yep.
Am I
please be louder. We can't hear.
Am I audible?
Now it is audible. Okay.
I was just asking, what are the 3 key obstacles that you think prevent us from achieving these goals in 2030?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, it can be the poverty, and next is we can say that the empowerment, the women empowerment, and the lack of awareness about the protection of the environment.
Thank you for your presentation. Very insightful.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, I would like to take a moment and invite to the Honorable Chair Member, Ms. Barrister Rizwana Yusuf. We welcome you, ma'am. Barrister Rizwana Yusuf, ma'am, is an experienced legal practitioner with successful track records of strategic leadership, ADR, and litigation. She has more than 11 years of experience in legal field, having extensive experience in articulating legal vision, long-term strategy in leading national and multinational operations. She has been a representative at Southeast Asia region for UPCEE. Ma'am has been head of the legal affairs and compliance and company secretary at IPDC of Bangladesh Limited, and also a legal counsel at Chevron. She is specialized in contract management, strategic leadership, negotiation, labor law, dispute resolutions, non-profit management, and environment governance. We welcome you, ma'am, and we are delighted to have you here with us.
Thank you
Moving
very
on
much. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are very much audible.
First, accept my apology because due to some technical error, I joined late, and it's a really big it's a privilege and honor to be here with all these knowledgeable people and my fellow colleague, fellow person with whom I'm chairing this session. And I think when I wrote my short biography, that time I was 11 years experience. Now it's 16 plus probably. And environment, I did a diploma in environmental law as well from WWF India. An environmental issue, especially in Southeast Asia region, it's an issue for, we had some issues on government versus the indigenous community regarding the reserve forest. We have issues that the factory they're building, destroying the environment. So in what environment, Ministry of Environment, what step or whether all the factories or any kind of commercial work, or even we are developing the construction work, we are cutting trees. So what we doing when we are if we cut one tree, at least we need to be rebuild that, what to say, do we need more trees in our countries? Every country needs the greenery, and only this is the global warming. We can protect ourselves if we can protect the environment. And to protect the environment, you need to think about how can we do it in a right way. Only if we think about the commercial benefit, that will never bring peace to this world. Peace doesn't mean that no war. Peace means everything. Nowadays, Bangladesh is so warm. I never gone through such a heat, or this winter, we didn't have that much cold in Dhaka. So that's the global warming. That's the global issue, that this has been caused due to the environment. So let me have the opportunity, let me enjoy or learn something more about from the participants. Then I will try to give some input if I have more than them.
Okay, ma'am, happy to see you.
Same here, ma'am.
Welcome to you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and welcome once again to all the chairs. Now, moving on with the presenters. Now, I would like to call upon Professor Dr. Suhas Narhari Toratmal, who would be speaking about evolution of international laws based on the UN Convention for Environment Sustainability over the years.
Okay, respected all, good afternoon. Thank you for giving me opportunity. My today's presentation topic is evolution of international law based on the United Convention for Environmental Sustainability over the years. So as you know, general principle of environmental law such as sovereignty and responsibility of a principle, the precautionary principle, the prevention principle, the polluter pays principle. The principle of a sustainable development has been defined by the 1987, that is the Brundtland Report, as a development that meets the need of a present without compromising the ability of future generations. So to meet their own need. However, we can say that is the sustainable development as reflected in international agreement or encompasses the at least three elements, that is intergenerational equality. Another is sustainable use of natural resources, integration of environment and development. So in the last 40 years, international environmental law has evolved rapidly. So environmental risks have become more apparent and their assessment and management are more complex. In 1972, there were only few dozen of multilateral agreements and most countries lacked environmental legislation. So many factors in addition to state the shape of a development and implementation of an compliance of international environmental law. Moreover, that is the environment is increasingly integrated with the economic development. So human rights, trade, national security, analyzing the evolutions of international environmental law helps the understand the possibilities and limitation of a law in addressing environmental problems. So both the prior Stockholm and Rio conference were path-breaking. So their work products, the events surrounding them, led on the basis of a significant leaps forward in developing and implementing the international environmental law. Avoiding the most dangerous impact from the climate change has been major focus on international environmental law since 1992. That is, which is recognized climate change as a common concern of humankind and set out framework the global action to avoid harmful. So sustainable development is an approach that is the economic planning that attempts to foster economic growth while preserving the quality of environment for the future generations. So that is the international environmental law is a set of rules and regulations of international law that govern relations between followers and that is the actors of international law, including governmental and non-governmental laws to protect the environment. And it is an emerging field whose turning point that is the Stockholm Conference in 1972. Since then, this field has been undergo many changes. Lawyers have divided the evolutions of road into three stages. That is the 1972 conference, 1992 Rio conference, and the Rio plus 20 conference. So this development focus mainly on issues the development of preventative measures, expanding the guarantees of a government, that is environmental commitments, as well as adjusting the government and reducing the principle of national sovereignty. However, the process has been faced to obstacles and limitations, so such as lack of financial resources, environmental issue, and national preference and governance. Strong, efficient international institutions must be established and have a necessary to competence and capacity to advance environmental objectives in order to accelerate this process. So international environmental law had a significant development. United Nations Conference on Human Environment, that is the 1972, that has held in Stockholm, has seen many changes today. The development are analysis in this article, definition of international environmental law. It is necessary to provide definitions of environment and international law. So that is one of the most important definition of environment is a definition provided by the Council of European Article 13, paragraph 2, Civil Liability Convention, Environmental Degradation Activities, that is the 1993. Also environment as a living and non-living natural resources such as the air, water, animal, plants, and reaction between similar factors that are part of cultural heritage are considered as a specific of environment. So when we talk about the Stockholm conference in Rio conference, that is the important principle. Environmental law and protection have been raised in the final statement of Stockholm conference in 1972. As Article 21, it stipulates the responsibility of a government for the harming ecosystem, which has been become international standard today. So 22nd principle refers to the compensation of issue. Another important event of international environmental law is that the historic period was adoption of Universal Charter of Nature by General Assembly, that is the of United Nations in October 1982, had a major impact of international environmental law. Its effect was a legal principle enshrined, that is the 1985 Convention on Protection and Conservation of Southeast Asian Resources. That's it. After that, that is the Rio Conference to Rio plus 2012 conference, that is the United Nations General Assembly approved to hold international conference on the environment and development, during which United Nations Secretary General was requested to provide the ground of holding conference. After that, there is some benefits of a conference can be summarized as follows. Developing road map of a goal of a sustainable development in 2015. So strengthening the United Nations of Environment Program, that is a green economy issue, and re-emphasizing the poverty alienation. The final document of a Rio plus 20 conference is the future we want is not binding, but it encourages the government to use provision of this document in order to realize three dimensions of a sustainable development. That is, the first one is economic, second one is a social, and third one is environmental. Achieving these goals depend on government, that is the will, so they can provide a suitable platform for sustainable development as a domestic law. Another significant development field in the international environmental law is to extend the scope and measure of a guarantee against environmental violations of offenses. That is the most important. After that, from the Rio 2+20 conference, that is the, so we know that the document was based on the decision made by the Rio +20 conference, and final statement of conference was drafted on the basis while the final documents of Rio 20 conference was revising, that is the political commitment and emphasizing the Rio principle, previous environmental and sustainable plan addresses the green economy issue. So that is the, somehow we can say that is the evolutions of a government and environmental obligations. So while governmental protections can be achieved, the participation of international community, including non-state actor government, but government as a genuine tradition, right holder of international law, have a prominent place in observing international standards. In today's world, protecting environment and avoiding the destruction, infecting it is an objective of obligation for the government, and government must enjoy fair and use of environment in a way it gives all countries equal opportunity to enjoy. So one of New Million Declaration in 2000, that is the aims to what ensure the continuity of environment, or which sought to be efforts of countries. That is the, we read in this declaration, we need respect for environment in order to have a thriving the agriculture, clean drinking water, fisheries and health livelihood. All government must bind to Convention of a Biological Diversity and Johannesburg Commitment of a Biodiversity Conservation. Obviously, the recognition environment convention, that is the implementation such as the 1997, that is the Kyoto Protocol and United Nations Framework Convention, climate change will be the first step toward the moment of. So there is somehow the recommendations from my side. However, in the order to accelerate the evolutions and efficiency in international environmental law, that is the first one is, that is establish international bodies, in particular international judicial and administrative tribunals, aim at monitoring to implementation of a general and specific monetary environmental convention. Second one is using regional arrangement in order to resolve international dispute between countries on environmental issue and immediate confirmations with the transboundary pollutions and pollutions. So third one is establish unit management bodies in order to adopt common and enforceable measures. That is the fourth one, utilize advisory and executive use of non-governmental organizations in preparation of environmental documents that can pave the way of government using specialized information. So last one is, that is the increased competence international organization involved in scientific partnership, collective findings, setting up the centralized institutional entity, capacity of building and culture foundations. Thank you for giving the opportunity. Thank you, ma'am.
I would request the chairs, if they have any questions, they can put up.
It's a very detailed, wonderful presentation, very detailed, very thorough. And I just love one sentence from the presentation. And that presentation was good. The respect for environment, respect for fisheries, respect for everything. So this is very important. But I would like to just ask, have you ever thought of recycling? Like we eat mango and we throw out the what is called the middle portion, the hard portion. It's called what it called? We called it the
Seed.
arti, or right. We throw it away. When we have the lychee, we throw the seed. It's a seed or what? I'm just confused. We always like throw it in the basket, or we don't care about it. Did we ever, or do we ever like think, or do you think that we should think that if we can recycle them? Because in Bangladesh, in some particular areas, it started like if you eat mangoes, the mangoes you're giving to one family, you are taking back that hard middle portion, the seed, which can become the seed in future, so that you can harvest them and grow more mango trees. So what do you think, Mr. Suhas, about this thing, the recycling?
Yes, ma'am. Recycling is essential nowadays because we know that it is utilized of that is the recycling in the environment. It is also beneficial for us. Always benefited. Okay.
Ma'am, do you want to ask anything?
Suhas, very good presentation. I wish to know about your concept on this polluter pay principle, and is it get accepted by all the countries? And India, I think there are some cases regarding the pollution of industries, etc. Can you say more about that?
Sorry, ma'am, I don't know regarding to the cases, but there are three principles. That is the polluter pay principles is very important, as well as we can say that is the sustainable development is also essential. Nowadays, that is the present need of future generations. That is also important.
For sustainability, we have to preserve our land, air, and soil. Therefore, one who contaminate all these segments of environment, we have to give them some punishment in the mode of this polluter pay principle. I think so. Okay.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Now moving to the next participants, we have our next presenters, Professor Dr. Caroline, FCC, and Anne Corinne, who would be presenting their papers on the topic Care Our Earth, an initiative of the Teacher Education Institution for attaining UN SDGs.
Hello? Hello? Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, you are audible.
Oh, I hope my screen is visible. Hello?
Yes, now it is visible. You may make it full screen.
I hope now it's okay. I hope now it's okay, ma'am.
For
No,
us, it's
not
like
full
small.
screen, but we can see it. If we can see the slide, it is not full screen.
Okay.
And once more, try to make it full screen.
Okay, ma'am.
At bottom right, you have option of slideshow. You can just use that.
That's just better, right?
And okay, in the bottom there is a cup. You can move it to that. Once more, you may try.
Yeah, now I hope now it's visible.
Now I can't see the slides now.
You have to share again. Nothing is visible.
Okay. Now,
Not yet. Yes, better.
Now it is okay.
okay, sorry ma'am for the delay. And so now let me begin. Good afternoon all. I'm Anne Korean, currently doing my B.Ed program at PKM College of Education, Kannur, Kerala. And the paper that I will be presenting today titled Care Our Earth, an initiative of Teacher Education Institution for attaining UN SDGs, is a combined work of Sister Caroline, Assistant Professor in Malayalam, PKM College of Education, and myself. And I will be presenting on behalf of both of us. So, an initiative of Teacher Education Institution to attain UN SDGs. So first of all, what is UN SDGs, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? In 2015, United Nations unveiled the Sustainable Development Goals, an ambitious plan aiming at establishing globally applicable standards for equitable and responsive development, respectful of humans and ecosystem. And this SDGs plan establishes a defined agenda 2030, consisting of 17 goals and 169 targets for achieving economic growth, environmental protection, social inclusion, and human well-being by 2030. Among the 17 goals, 6 goals focus on environmental sustainability, and they are SDG 6, clean water and sanitation, SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, SDG 13, climate action, SDG 14, life below water, and SDG 15, life on land. So here comes the objective: to understand the impact of the programs initiated by the Teacher Education Institution as part of Care Our Earth by evaluating each event in implementing the idea of environment sustainability and creating sensitivity in the minds of future teachers to work towards the goal of nature welfare. And also it aims at to evaluate the effectiveness of the program curated by the Teacher Education Institution in the context of Sustainable Development Goals by analyzing each event with regards to its productivity. So now comes the most integral slide, Care Our Earth, an initiative of PKM. So it's an initiative of Care Our Earth. It's an initiative of PKM College of Education, Madam, a teacher education institution for the protection of Mother Earth in the context of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And its objective, it intends to develop sensitivity towards nature among the future teachers, thereby transforming them to environment protectors. And this initiative, it focuses on different dimensions of environment sustainability defined in UN SDGs. And it aims at shifting in the mindset of the novice teachers from mere level of awareness to a level of sensitivity through personal experience, and which enables the exploration and realization of the interrelationship, interdependence, and interconnectedness of the various systems of the universe. And the Care Our Earth initiative focuses on 4 different dimensions of environmental sustainability, and they are resource conservation, second, sustainable agriculture, and third, climate action, and 4th, waste management. So here comes a portfolio of technical transaction process outcomes. So this represents how this Care Our initiative works, how it works. And it works through various conferences and by commemorating or observance of days and extensions and collaborations. So I would like to explain briefly under each head. So conferences, webinars, symposiums, and seminars. A symposium on the challenges in the survival of Western Ghats in the context of the flood and its calamities in Kerala was held in the year 2019. It aimed at orienting the student teachers on the need to protect nature and practice sustainable living styles to avoid disasters in the future. Again, every Science Day, national conferences, symposiums, and webinars are held a national in the year 2020, a national conference on care of Mother Earth was held, and 2021 national level webinar on future of STI, science, technology, and innovation. And recently, very recently, in 2022, as part of National Science Day, national level webinar on science for sustainable future was held. And observance of days. So PKM College is keen on observing various days associated with environment. For example, Kalapa 2021 as part of Farmers Day, an expression of the concept Partiyam Todilekya, and World Environment Day observance, survey on air pollutions, and leaflets creating awareness on air pollution distributed in the locality. And other programs include One Student, One Tree program, PKM Tree Challenge, when various competitions and quiz programs, and also World Habitat Day observance, World Wetlands Day, World Water Day, and World Wildlife observances and related competitions and presentations are held as part of these. And now under the head extensions and collaborations, first Urjagiran 2019-20 and 2020-21, it's an energy conservation campaign, and our college has been selected as the nodal agency for funded by the government, technical support by CED and AEMC, Environment Management Center, government in Kerala. And this energy conservation campaign, it includes various seminar, rallies, signature campaigns, and like that. And the intended target group was the public, like that. And the second, Organic Vegetable Development Project 2019-20, it implemented with the support of Sri Davidam Krishi Bhavan, Kannur. And the outcomes was the material, apart from the materialistic products from the gardens, it aimed to impart eco-friendly approaches and the sensitive attitudes towards nature among the future teachers. And finally, an state-level experiential learning workshop on environment titled Mannu Manishan Mahatmava, in association with Malabar Social Service Society, Kerala. And the major themes were Vittum Kaigottum, it's a lessons on agriculture and Rhine River, and lessons on health and medicines. Also, the expected outcomes to impart or instill, allow for the nature and eco-sensitivity in the minds of future teachers. So now comes, we know, teachers are social engineers. They play a crucial role in the holistic development of an individual. So instead of being mere problem solvers, they are supposed to take responsible actions for real world issues. We know majority of the issues, be it environmental issue, moral issue, health issue, social issue, any of the issue, they arise out of our lack of our caring, responsive, and compassionate dispositions associated with these elements, associated to these realms. So here comes the significance of the term sensitivity or being sensitized. So sensitivity can be characterized as a sense of responsibility, a caring, compassion, a sense of belongingness, a sense of critical awareness, or a sense of problem solving. So this sensitivity must be inculcated in the minds of future teachers and pupils in order to deal with the various issues. So in this case, environmental issues. And if once we are sensitized, we naturally conservation and with all accomplishment will be achieved. So here comes the importance of the term sensitivity. And to conclude, Care of Earth, an initiative of PKM, a teacher education institution designed in the context of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, offers innovative, enriched, and updated pedagogic strategies and approaches taken into account the situational needs and demands. It presents the curricular processes and its outcomes initiated by PKM College and the student teachers as part of the graduate and education program with an objective to attain UN SDGs by developing sensitivity among student teachers through an attitudinal shift and thereby acting responsibly in their workplace in service as environment protectors. And in fact, this initiative can be viewed as a contextual model for other teacher education institutions looking forward towards achieving UN SDGs. So these are the references. Thank you. And I use this opportunity to extend my gratitude to all the organizers of DME Law School for providing us an opportunity to present our paper. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay. Good presentation, and
Thank you, ma'am.
therefore you have done a number of programs, and
Yes.
you
Yes,
are
ma'am.
getting funds from different institutions, government
Yes.
institutions.
Yes, that Ujagaran is an energy conservation campaign funded by
Okay.
EMC, Environment Management Center, Kerala,
Okay. Therefore, you have started this program in which year?
2015.
2015. Okay.
Yes.
Now it is going on.
Yeah, still
Up to,
going on.
what is your?
It's no Ujagaran, it's a government
No,
program.
it is. I'm
Okay,
not asking about Urchikaran. Different programs you are taking
okay.
into consideration, and you are started it from
A-
2015.
No,
And
no.
now also
Actually,
the programs are going on, isn't it?
Actually, PKM College has undertaken a mega project titled Next Generation Teacher at PKM in the context of this UN SDGs during the Silver Jubilee year of the college, that is 2019-20. So then the college aims at 7 goals. That is, teachers as environment protectors, teachers as health promoters, like that 7 goals are set. And these goals to be achieved by the through the student teachers of the PKM through their B.Ed program. And the beneficiaries are the 10 batches commencing from the year 2019-20 till 2030.
Therefore, the participants include the people from different categories, not only students.
Different. Yeah, only the beneficiaries are the project aims at the student teachers of PKM College, commencing from the year 2019-20, 10 batches.
You can also invite the panchayat members or something in your area. Therefore, they will also make a very good impact on them.
Yeah.
This type of programs. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
I think you did a good presentation, and something new I have learned or came to know that what you're doing, the project, and his name is very nice, Care Our Art. And I like one word, that is ownership. I always believe in that unless until you own something, it is not possible to work for it or execute or implement or do it the way you want it. So ownership is very important. But 2015, that's prior to pandemic. And this pandemic, that my question similar to a ma'am, like 2030, the target for SDGs, right? And during for this pandemic, still we are in the pandemic. It's not, it will never end, right? It's an endemic. It's not pandemic, it's endemic. So what do you think that UN needs to make some amendment, like whether the entire world, the signatories for SDGs, will they be able to achieve their goal by 2030? Or it definitely it will take more time. What do you think?
Yes, I would like to stress on the term sensitivity again here, that a scientific sensitivity domain of learning is important for sustainable future. So the scientific sensitivity in all aspects, in all areas should be practiced at various levels, be it at the educational level, economic level, and environment level. So here comes the importance of that term. And this, if you are sensitized, the public or the sensitized, it can create a great impact. I feel so.
But is it possible to like achieve by 2030?
It's a hard job. It's a hard,
because we are 2 years behind due to pandemic.
Yeah, 2 years due to the pandemic. And but what I personally feel is that depending on the context, we have to transform accordingly, flexibly, and adapt. Try to adapt a growth mindset that should be practiced.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Something
Thank
good
you.
I have
Thank
learned.
you.
the presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Proceeding with the next presentation, we have Mr. Ashish Pathak and Ms. Riya Shukla presenting on COP26 and its outcome. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Is the screen is visible to you all?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
No, it is visible. You have to make it full screen.
Yeah, sure,
A
ma'am.
little bigger, yeah.
So a very good afternoon to Chairperson, Professor Dr. JRDS ma'am and Rizwana Yusuf ma'am, and to all present over here. I am Ashish Pathak along with my co-author Riya Shukla are going to present on the topic COP26 and its outcome. So first of all, I would like to begin it with the famous quote by Mahatma Gandhi. The environment has enough for everyone's need, but not enough for everyone's greed. So for this, now I am going into the presentation. So first of all, what is COP26? The COP26 is the most recent annual UN climate change conference, and it stands for Conference of the Parties. And the summit was attended by the countries that signed the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, a treaty that came into the force in 1994. This was the 26th COP summit and was hosted in the partnership between the UK and the Italy. And the conference was held in Glasgow from 1 November to 12 November 2021, a year later than planned due to delays caused by the COVID pandemic. So what are the backgrounds of it? First of all, the climate change and its implication. The 6th assessment report of Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, released in August 2021, has declared an alert for the nation of the world over global temperature rise and associated risks. And the second one is the insufficient climate action. Despite the sign of implementing the planetary emergency, most of the nations of the world have shown the sign of seriousness with respect to climate action. Global GHG emission have continued unabated. The climate action envisages the inadequate arrest to rising global temperatures. The 12th emission gap report released by the UN Environmental Program notes a huge gap between the updated emission reduction pledge made by the UN Environment Program for the countries in 2030 and what is needed to keep in rise in global temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius or even 2 degrees Celsius. This could lead to a rise in temperature by 2.7 degrees Celsius by the end of century. This is an increasingly narrowing the window for the world to taper down the emission before the temperature rises beyond 2 degrees Celsius. Renewed effort for global action. In this regard, major preparatory conference and bilateral meeting has been held of the pursued countries to raise their emission reduction commitment from the nationality determined under the Paris Agreement. This had been a growing call for net zero emission by 2050. What do we need to achieve at COP26? First of all, secure global net zero mid-century and keep the 1.5 degree within reach. Adapt to protect communities and natural habitat. Mobilize finances and to work together so that the rules could be listed in detail and help in the fulfillment of Paris Agreement. The major initiatives that was announced at the Glasgow summit was ending the deforestation. In the COP26 Climate Summit's first major deal, leaders at the COP26 Climate Conference have pledged to stop the deforestation by 2030 and to help slow climate change. According to the Global Forest Watch, in 2020, the world lost 258,000 square meters of forest. Felling trees contribute to climate change because it depletes the forest that absorb vast amount of warming gas CO2. The pledge include almost 19.2 billions of public and private funds to invest in protecting and restoring the forest. Some of the fundings will go into the developing country to restore damaged land, tackle wildfire, and support indigenous communities. Government of 28 countries also committed to removing the deforestation from the global trade of foods, including including animal husbandry and the other agricultural products such as palm oil, soya, and cocoa. These industries drive forest loss by cutting trees to make space for animal to graze or crop to grow. More than 30 of the world's biggest financial companies have promised to end the investment in the activities linked to deforestation. Reducing the methane emission. While the main focus of the effort to curb global warming has been on the carbon dioxide, except point out that the cutting methane emission could be one of the most effective intervention to reduce near-term global warming. Although there are more CO2 in the atmosphere and stick around for longer, individual methane molecule have a more powerful warming effect on the atmosphere than single CO2 molecule given in higher global warming potentials. The global warming potential of greenhouse's ability to trap the extra heat in the atmosphere over time relative to carbon dioxide. And the methane is one of the most potent greenhouse gases, and it is responsible for the third of the current warming for human activities. Now the fourth point is infrastructure for resilient in island states. India has launched the infrastructure for resilient island state and its initiative for developing the infrastructure of small island nations. The IRIS is a part of Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure Initiative. The new initiative is a result of cooperation between India, UK, Australia, and the included participation of leaders of small islands such as Fiji, Jamaica, and Mauritius. Now the most important concept, the one sun, one world, and the one grid. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Boris Johnson have jointly launched the Green Grid Initiative, One Sun, One World, One Grid, which aim to connect energy grid across the border to facilitate a faster transition to the use of renewable energy at the ongoing COP26. This initiative aims to tap solar energy and have it travel seamlessly across border. This initiative will work towards accelerating the making of large solar panel stations and wind farms in the best location linked together by continental scale grid across national borders. So that in this way, the sun will never set for all the entire world. There is a Race to Zero. Race to Zero is the world's largest net zero alliance with over 3,800 members representing 15% of global economy, 1 billion people, and 21% of the world's biggest companies. Now the India's new climate action goals is the India will achieve net emission goal latest by 2070. This is a notable given that so far India was the only major emitter that had not committed to a timeline to achieve net zero carbon dioxide emission and has also argued against the concept of zero carbon targets. Renewable energy would be tapped in a big way in India. By 2030, India will ensure 50% of its energy will be sourced from renewable resources. India plans to generate 500 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030. This is a mark of 50 gigawatts increase from its current target of 450 gigawatts. Now the further topic will be deduced by my co-author Riya Shukla. Over to you, Riya.
Thank you so much. So good afternoon to one and all. My name is Riya Shukla and I'll be taking this presentation ahead by discussing some of the important subheadings related to the topic. So one of which is, as you can see on the screen, the lacunas in the global climate action efforts. Now, according to the 6th assessment report, which I had emphasized that to keep the temperature rising within 1.5 degrees Celsius, the global emissions should be reduced by 45% from 2010 levels by 2030 on the way to net zero 2050. However, many high emitter countries are short of the emissions reductions required by 2030 to restrict global temperature rise to well below 2 degrees Celsius or even the goal of 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Therefore, global emissions in 2030 are expected to be 16.3% above the 2010 level, as against the call for 2030 emissions to be 45% less from 2010 levels for the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal. The carbon measures represent the quantum of carbon dioxide the atmosphere can hold for a given global temperature, best assessed through cumulative emissions and not annual flows. Continuing with that, we are overlooking the need for immediate action. As we can see, the net zero 2050 target is too distant a goal, and this might divert attention away from the urgent 2030 target that COP26 should focus on. Now, while we see that this is contradictory to the CBDR principle, the net zero target also seems to be contradictory to the foundational principle of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, which is common but differentiated responsibilities. Instead of a common goal, the article argues for a differentiated target year. Developed countries should reach net zero earlier, while the developing countries should get more time. The article calls on the developing countries to take up more responsibility for climate action given their legacy emissions. Now, the structured approach towards net zero. Net zero can be achieved only through a structured program that relies on sharp emissions reduction, wide support for clean energy, innovation, and adoption of green technologies. Some of the major interventions that can help India move towards a net zero target include the following. So India needs to create a legal mandate for climate impact assessment of all activities. Low carbon and green technologies must be adopted to reduce the environmental impact of many man-made activities. The creation of dedicated green funds and channeling of adequate finances.
Ria, you may conclude. It is you are going out of time.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. So to conclude, I would like to say that the COP26 of Glasgow is a promising start on emission reductions. However, on part of the global largest emitters, much more is expected to be done. So, having said that, I would like to quote Mr. M.S. Swaminathan. Quote: "If conservation of natural resources goes wrong, nothing else will go right." Unquote. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, you may ask.
Okay. Thank you very much. Both of you, the author and co-author, or both authors, very thorough and technical presentation. It is sometimes difficult for this, like the limited time, to understand the technical terms or the numbers you're mentioning for understand, like you've gone through this research paper, but we are listening for the first time. So I would request for the next participant that make it like what you want to convey. There is a moral message or gist or a message for all of us, what you want to say. So if you can convey in that way, that will it will be easier for all of us to keep it here. This is a very good research paper, but for a very good assignment or dissertation. Because for this limited time period, difficult to ask many things or understand, or if there is any pros and cons. So I was trying to concentrate on the numbers, but I was failing because I was weak in law, numbers always. That's why I studied law. So my question that the COP26, Paris Agreement, COP26, when this type of conference always organized and attended by all the signatories of the UN SDG or UN signatories countries head, who basically dominate that conference? Do you believe or do you agree that the country like Bangladesh, Nepal, I wouldn't say India because India is richer and stronger than us, the poor country like us, can we dominate? Can we make any important effect in the decision making? Number one. Number two, can we compare? Now I can include India. Can we compare Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Maldives, the Southeast Asia region, or ASEAN countries? Can we compare our environmental issues, laws, regulations with USA, Canada, that's North America? Because it's something different. Why? One example, if I have oil under my land, who is the owner? In my country, government is the owner. But in USA, that landowner is the owner. Am I clear to you all? He can sell that oil to the government. But here the owner is, the entire land owner is the government of the Bangladesh. I think same in India, same in other like Southeast Asia countries. So two different, like our issues, our rules, our laws are different. So do you think so with in front of America or Russia or England, we can really, really make the argument, our points, make that effective or make that like what we want from them, number one. And number two is, still we are arguing. What do you think? Is it the time still to argue or make new clauses, or it is the time to start implementation? Forget about blame game. Implementation, when we gonna do that, this country should do this country, like all the countries are not in the equal footing. So, and another thing, sorry ma'am, I'm taking a little more time. Like who attend, the government dignitaries, the people who attend the conference, the COP or Paris agreements when it took place, the delegates, how many are environmental experts? Because the government office, what it happens, it's a transferable job. When the secretary or the secretary of the environment, Ministry of Environment, he goes to that conference. Previously, he was probably the secretary for food or secretary for water or any other department or law. So how many experts we take with us for this negotiation or this discussion? I know this is the question not for you, it's for all. But first is good presentation, but I would like to, I would appreciate if you can describe the gist of what you wanted to say, what you want to convey. Thank you very much. And if you want to answer any of my observation, you're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, this conference is basically for limiting the outward of the carbon dioxide that are emitting in the environment. And as we know that the global warming temperature is rising day by day, and the glaciers that are in the Antarctica and Arctic Ocean are depleting, and this will cause the great catastrophic in the near future. So that's why the largest producer of that carbon dioxide countries or continents are in the top level, so that they are setting the target or goal that they will curb the carbon dioxide level. And for as you have said that the small countries just like Bangladesh or Pakistan, so man, these are the small countries in location wise, not on the other aspect. So for this, I think that it will not create such amount of carbon dioxide emission. So that that's why India and all the major countries just like Russia, America, China, these are the largest producer. So I think that they have made the target that they will curb this by 2070, just like India and other countries by 2050, and the most recent by 2030. So I think, ma'am, these are
now
the
you
things
made the presentation very clearly. This is the presentation I was looking for. Very precise, articulate, and you explain everything in 4 or 5 lines. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ashik. I wish to know whether what is your opinion about the achievement of renewable energy? That is, we are saying that we can generate 500 gigawatt of energy to achieve the goal. Is it possible for India? What's your opinion?
Ma'am, yesterday, ma'am, I have read the news that India has exported around 400 billion, and it is achieved within a 1 year. So I think that, ma'am, India is moving in the self-reliant, and it will achieve by this target period that is conveyed by our country. And when one more thing is that our Prime Minister Modi ji has introduced and launched the one world, one sun world, one world and one grid. If this will be implemented, so that I think this will be feasible and India will able to get the target of 500 gigawatts in near future.
Okay, okay, Ash.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
We have presenting on emission and consideration by Dr. Komal, can you unmute yourself? Present, please.
Aisha madam, we can't hear. There's some problem.
It's breaking. Yeah, it's breaking.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Loud and clear. Good.
Okay. Calling upon our next presenters, we have Dr. Tina and Dr. Komal Dhaya presenting on environmental issues and their consideration by UN. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, the panelists. Myself, Dr. Komal Dhaya, and I'll be presenting my paper on behalf of myself, Dr. Komal Dhaya, and Dr. Tina, and we are assistant professor at SDG University, Gurugram. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am. So basically, environment is not something which is confined only to one particular state. It is something which is related to every state, and every person, irrespective where he or she is staying, have the right over the environment. So it is not something which concerns only one particular state, rather every state is the one which is to be concerned regarding the environment. So basically it was in 1972, right? At that point, it was UN who took an initiative to and who showed concern regarding the environment through the Stockholm Declaration, where they tried to get a balance between the the economic growth as well as for the protection of the environment at the same time. So they called it as the sustainable development. That is where you grow, but in regard to in protecting the environment at the same time. So there it was the first initiative in the world where the environment was considered to be an important issue, which was discussed, and where it was equally considered that even if you are growing, if your economic growth is important, at the same time your environment is equally important. Right from there, then after that, UN had a lot of conferences and conventions which has taken place. Like we have this United Nations Environment Program, which specifically focus on the environment protection issues like depletion, global warming, deforestation, and what are the reasons and how we can combat these environmental issues in regard to our economic growth as well. So after this, we had this World Commission on Environment, which was established in 1988. And the reason after that, and because of that, which resulted in Rio Declaration also, which is also a landmark declaration by the UN. It happened to be in 1992, which established 27 principles regarding the sustainability of the environment, of the economic as well as the environment. So here after this, constantly the UN is trying to make an effort to protect the environment. Like we had Earth Summit in 1992, where it specifically focused for the the states to find key what and to rethink what are the various ways because of which we are polluting the planet, and what are the various reasons for the depletion of our natural resources, and how they could be protected as well. So these were the certain and in 1997 again we had the a check key what was the whatever the promises which we made in 1992, where we had to see key what are the various reasons for these issues which has happened. So till now where we have reached, so it was a constant revision kind of thing which took place in 1997, and after that also we had a World Summit 2002 on sustainable development, where they come to a conclusion that it is the population growth, developing economies, technologies, industrial developments which somewhere harm the environment. So what would be the steps now which should be taken up by the states or the countries to cure or to curb or to protect the environment? And if I talk about the recent developments for the environment which are specifically considered by UN, so the one is COP21, which is a landmark agreement to combat climate change and to accelerate and to intensify the actions and investments needed for a sustainable low carbon future, where they would specifically talking about the curbing of chlorofluorocarbons or whatever the carbons which somewhere affect the ozone depletion. So in that sense, which will strengthen the global response to threat, and of course at the same time strengthen the global response to threat of climate change by keeping a global temperature less than 2 degrees Celsius. And in 2019 also we had a climate action summit in which all the representatives of government, businesses and civil society took an initiative to further the climate action. So like if I am talking about right from 1972 till now, even in this 2021 also we had this COP26. So like we have come a long way, but still the problem, the issues remains the same. So what are the major reasons behind that? Suppose even if the countries are part of those conventions or the conferences, still they are not following the same. If though they are not following the same, so should they be punished, or should we have some law where if some punitive punishment can be imposed upon them in case if that particular country or that particular state is harming the environment at larger scale? Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Komal, for the nice presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
This one, madam.
I just like the last, especially the last few lines that come, if the parties who are the signatories of this convention or the agreement, if they are non-compliant, then what is the remedy or what to be done? So that's that. If you can, if we can establish or we can make it effective that what in it like COP26 or any international or UN related or any kind of international conference regarding this carbon emission, there must be a compliance procedure. And if someone is a breach of any clause, then that country should be either pecuniary or any other way, they need to be they have to compensate. So yeah, thank you, Dr. Komal, for raising this thing.
Ma'am, I would like to add one thing over here. Like if we talk about UN, if somebody is a part of UN assembly or, and if the state violates the law in that regard, like if we are talking about Russia and Ukraine, the situation which happened, yes, recently. So, somewhere even, I think, asking them that, you will be not considered as part of economy. So some kind of that thing can also be imposed in environmental also, I think. Key somewhere if you will not be, so your economy, your business or your market, or you will not be allowed to enter into global market. So I think somewhere if that can be imposed, so still we can think the states would take it as or consider it seriously. Otherwise, I think even if we would have a lot of other conventions specifically talking about one particular issue, but the thing will not be resolved.
True. Thank you. Ma'am?
The questions are over. We can head.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Before we can move to the next presenter, can we? Okay.
Presenting on COP26 and its outcomes, we have Mitakshara Kapoor and Sri Lakshmi Durga. Over to you guys.
Is the screen visible?
Yes, Mitakshara, it is visible.
Okay. So good afternoon to all. I, Mitakshara Kapoor, here to present the paper on the topic COP26 and its outcome. Starting with the introduction. During its 12th day from October 31 to November 12, 2021, COP26 bring together the largest gathering of world leaders ever assembled in the UK, hosted by the United Kingdom under the presidency former Business Secretary Alok Sharma and in conjunction with Italy. After being postponed for a year, owing to the coronavirus outbreak, the conference has finally taken place. The 26th Conference of Parties, thus named COP26, held in Glasgow, Scottish Event Campus in 2021. The majority of major economies were anticipated to assess the progress towards voluntary objectives to cut greenhouse emission by the 2015 Paris Agreement. In the COP calendar, the year 2020 was accepted to be notable since most major economies were supposed to review their progress towards voluntary promises to reduce greenhouse gas emissions as per the 2015 Paris Agreement. To that aim, it has dispatched emissaries and delegations to several countries in the hope of persuading them to agree to the pattern or net zero period during which their emission will peak and then decline. Moving to the achievements, new global and country global. At the Glasgow Summit, governments were urged to consider enhancing the 2030 goals by the COP27, which were held in Egypt in 2022. The summit set a goal of keeping global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius and pursued more than 140 governments to commit to attaining net zero emissions. The Glasgow Breakthrough Agenda, endorsed by 42 countries, is a potential significant breakthrough that emerged from COP26, but the outset COP process, including it, phasing down coal consumption. Coal is the dirtiest of all fossil fuels, thus phasing it out as soon as possible is desirable. The European Union has worked hard for it to phase out, but developing countries have refused. Best case scenario, according to an early assessment by the Climate Action Tracker, uh, an independent organization, the declared aim might limit global warming to roughly 1.8 degrees Celsius if fully released. Now coming to the setbacks, the lack of the meeting voluntary targets. The meetings goals are voluntary with no enforcement mechanism or penalties for non-compliance. Many goals were predicted on adequate financial resources being available. Lack of specific details and action. Many countries have not provided clear specifics on the activities that will be taken to identify the actual path to net zero, creating confusion about what will be accomplished. Failure to secure climate finance. The summit's gentle censor merely pushes affluent countries to enhance their climate money provision. It was unable to acquire firm financial commitments from developed countries. Unequal distribution of carbon burden. The top three largest emitters, US, China, and Europe, which account for roughly 30% of global population, would consume 78% of the carbon burden. So this issue arises because focusing on net zero rates does not ensure a fair distribution of the available carbon space when the baseline emission position varies so widely. Now I would like to call upon Sri Lakshmi to continue the presentation.
Mitakshra, I would request the slide change.
I have changed the slide.
Yeah, it is up here now. Okay. So what is the situation regarding COP26 in India? India adheres to the notion of common but differentiated responsibility, which states that wealthy countries must take the initiative to dramatically decrease their emissions. Furthermore, wealthier countries should compensate poorer countries by compensating for prior emissions and environmental damage. The Prime Minister of India presented 5 promises to climate action at COP26 while giving his national statement on India's behalf. These are some of them. Achieve the target of net zero carbon emission by 2070. Bringing down the carbon intensity of India's economy by more than 45% by 2030. Taking India's non-fossil fuel energy capacity to 500 gigawatts by 2030. Fulfilling 50% of India's energy requirements through renewable energy by 2030. Cut down its net projected carbon emission by 1 billion tons from now until 2030. India has adopted a bold stance and stated its position clearly, demonstrating how developing countries are willing to make firm judgments on climate change. When comparing historical responsibilities for emission rates in different regions of the world, India's response is far superior to that of the industrialized world. Now, what is the situation globally? China, the world's top emitter, released their NDC just days before COP26 started, but analysts were disappointed. China aims to reach net zero emissions by 2060 and a 65% reduction in carbon emissions per unit of GDP by 2030. These are, however, the same commitments made by the Chinese government more than a year ago, and many feel China is capable of far more, such as peaking emissions by 2025, which would be a huge boost to global efforts to stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius. According to Climate Action Tracker, a website that analyzes global goals, China's NDC would push global temperature to 2.4 degrees Celsius, well above the Paris Agreement's upper limit. President Xi Jinping of China did not attend COP26, and China has no new promises to make at the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, Scotland. Now, I would like to conclude our paper by saying, according to the scientists, every fraction of a degree of warming will result in more violent heat waves and droughts, as well as more devastating floods and wildlife. Since the 19th century, humans have increased global warming by around 1.1 degrees Celsius or 2 degrees Fahrenheit. To keep global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius, countries have to less than 10 years to reduce emissions. Many people feel that if authorities do not take serious action now, while so much attention is focused on Glasgow, global warming will accelerate to dangerous levels. The fate of the globe will be determined by whether or not more countries join in and whether or not can follow through the promises made by them. Thank you.
Thank you, Sri Lakshmi and Midakshara Kapoor for the nice presentation. And I wish to know, can we phase out this coal that is the main culprit of air pollution during the achievement of these goals during the period? That is by 2070, we are saying that there should be net zero carbon emission. And in your opinion, can we phase out coal, which is some of the main culprit of air pollution in India?
Ma'am, the thing is, like, we can, like, if we find some alternative of it.
Therefore, we are suggesting many alternatives. But is it possible that I am asking you? What is your opinion about that?
Ma'am, according to us, it is possible in some way or the other. Probably it might take a long time, but it is sure that we cannot eradicate the coal in, like, completely we cannot eradicate it. But we can at least curb the usage of the coal, or how we are using it in the excess quantity than the required quantity. We can curb that and we can try to bring down and achieve the goal.
Okay.
Then even we have geothermal power, which we can use as an alternative of coal. And it is
Okay.
also renewable energy, so it is a good option if we can, like, use as much as it possible, and we can reduce our usage of coal.
Okay, Pithaksha.
Rizwana ma'am has some questions she can put up, or else we can move.
No,
Okay.
next part. Good presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Our last presenter for the day are Ms. Apurva Vednarayan Mishra and Dr. Gurujit Singh, coming up with the topic protecting the marine environment from ships and international shipping, understanding and critically analyzing the role of international maritime organization and sustainable development, goal 14, in promoting sustainability. We welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everybody. I know it's too late. And being the last presenter is always, it's like you have to wrap it up. But can I share my screen now?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
So I'm a research scholar as Guru Gobind Singh in Bucharest University, and Dr. Gurujit Singh sir is the assistant professor in USLS, Guru Gobind Singh in Bucharest University. So the topic is a bit technical also, so I tried to simplify it a bit, and as what Rizwana ma'am said, that let's not go into more complexities. I mean, why I come to this topic is also another challenge to my life. So I'll just give a minute to it that, in the mainstream, I've seen that people are not talking much about marine environment pollution and the impact, what pollution has on the oceans, seas, and the life below water. And also being the wife of a seafarer, it has always been a discussion with my husband that how you're working on the ship all the time, but how you people manage to protect the environment at the same time, because commercial development, growth, economics is everything important, but at the same time, at what cost? So yeah, in fact, e-media or the print media also not talk much about on this topic. Also, in our curriculum, we have international law, but touched in a very in a very precise manner. So I'll start. So the highlights is my article includes that what are the various sources of the marine pollution and their impacts on the aquatic life. Also, I have tried to understand and analyze the role of International Maritime Organization in preventing pollution sourced from the vessels through its lawmaking process and conventions. Also critically analyze the potential and limitations of IMO in SDG 14, comprising of several targets and indicators. And I'll conclude it while suggesting few sustainable measures paving the path for the sustainable shipping. Okay, so try to, these are the 6 categories which I try to categorize, and I'll try to do it in a very in a very concrete manner. So when we talk about pollutant discharge from the operational ships, wherein I try to focus, the major 2 problems are oily pollutants, which actually comes from through the operation of the ship while the ship is on the water and the voyage takes place. So there are a lot of discharge from the oil, from the bilge water. There's a blast water management. Now these words again play a very important role as a lawyer to understand, because this is on the side of a very scientific thing. So what happens, I'll just explain blast water management. What is the problem involved? Now when the ship is loaded, it is balanced. Okay, so when they discharge the cargo on the ports, now the ship has to get balanced. So what these seafarers do, they catch hold of the water in their tanks. So now they try to suck up water wherever they go, and they release to the another port where they have to again load the vessel. So now the problem here is, so if I'm taking the water from the China and I'm unloading it in Taiwan, now there will be issue of the pollutants, there will be issue of the invasive species and whatnot. So yeah, this is one of the major problem what seafarers, the environmentalists, and in fact the flag states are facing. Second is anti-fouling paints, which also creates a lot of menace in the aquatic life. Then another category is water waste discharge from vessels. So basically there are 2, the literature shows that there are 2 kind of, major 2 kind of wastewater discharge. One is black water, another is gray water. Black water simply that comes from your toilets and the kind of discharge from the sewage and all those stuff. And the gray water, it comes from the laundry, the food. These are all the waste which which has been segregated by the activities on the vessel. The third is emission from the vessels on voyage. So now there is an impact on the air pollution as well. So there are certain elements called sulfur, nitrogen, and another the kind of the toxic substances that are released throughout the operation. Fourth is solid waste, which is marine, plastic litter, marine litter, food waste, paper, and so on and so forth. Noise pollution, we all know that, I never thought of before writing this article that noise pollution and light pollution can bring a, it's a very, these elements create a very, a lot of pollutants and interference in the aquatic life. It has, the studies has showed that, there has been problem with respect to their communication, navigation, reproduction in the aquatic life. So yes, they play a very important role when we say it's a noise pollution, light pollution. Okay, now we'll talk about that how the International Maritime Organization, which was formerly used to called as consultative organization, And it used to take care of the pirates and the security of the seafarer per se. But gradually, with the rising demand of the petroleums and oil products, it has transformed into International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution by the Sea, Oil, and slowly and gradually they tried to segregate the prohibited areas where International Maritime Organization was very strict that you should not discharge your sewage according to these prohibited zones. Then again a problem arises. The problem was, now the flag states were like, Are, you are hindering my navigation right. How can you say that we should not go here, we should not do? And that's the reason the debate still going on with respect to the prohibited and the special zone areas. Okay, so slowly and gradually, with the non-compliance, with the non-acceptance of these laws, in March 1967, the largest marine oils took place in the Britain and France, Torrey Canyon, which has, it was just an eye-opener for all the world. Sachanax, everybody was like, we need to do something. There's an oil spill now. We are polluting, and again, there is there is a theory, when best get more there's something harming to them, the entire world has to keep thinking about whether it's a least developed country or it's a coastal developed country. They have to think about the pollution that very time. So yeah, in the because of that, various other conventions took place, like civil liability for oil pollution damage and international convention relating to high seas and so and so forth. So now we are dealing with the MARPOL 73-78. 73 was not a very updated and not very accepted convention, but 78 got a good, obviously again, the acceptance from the West and the collaboration from the developing and the least developed countries. So they've come up and they joined hands together for the convention of 1978. Now with the convention, there were 6 annexures. So now this annexures was, they were added according to the time and the need, on that basis. So annexure 1 which deals with the oil, annexure 2 with the obnoxious substances, 3, in the packed form where there's something harmful substances going on, 5th with the respect of sewage and garbage, and now annexure 6 which deals with the air pollution. Okay. So the very important part of my article says IMO and sustainable development, specifically goal 14. Though we have different SDGs working, so if we see broadly, there are 5 P's under the sustainable development framework. 1 for people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. So on these 5 major, 5 major sectors, these goals have been formulated and drafted accordingly. So in my article, I have specifically dealt with IMO, SDG 14 with respect to the planet. In fact, IMO has been, for past 3 years, 18, 19, 20, 21, they are dealing with the biodiversity. They are creating the main theme to be biodiversity, protecting, sustainable development goals. So they are somewhere doing work related to achieving, sustainable shipping. And in fact, in 2020, they asked for sustainable shipping for a sustainable planet. Now, these are the 14 targets. I'll not go in every target in detail, but yes, in my understanding, to my limited, reading, I believe that 14.6 target, which specifically deals with the overcapacity and overfishing and, fishing subsidiaries, and how they want, appropriate and effective special and differential treatment for developing and least developed countries, should be treated an integral part of the World Trade Organization fishery subsidies negotiations. So yes, I believe in my understanding that, today we are standing at that level. There's not like one size fits all. In environment, it's the major complexity is we cannot make everything global. But yes, there are certain elements we need to keep in mind. So here I believe there's a one target which, in my opinion, has attracted my attention. That this is SDG 14.6, and the good part was that when it was drafted in 2015, the target was till 2020. It was not even 2030. So I think if somebody asked me today whether we have achieved, I think it's a clear-cut no. Whether it's a pandemic or not, but the time duration is such a manner that we cannot achieve that particular goal in 2020. Okay, again, very, very naive, or maybe say, to my limited understanding, these are certain kind of challenges which I believe, IMO is facing while implementing sustainable development framework at its course. Whether, Marpol 73.8, that's what I have stated this earlier also, that it's a very slow in progress. It's still, taking a baby step. Secondly, when it comes to the international and national and regional issues, the imbibing all these things into national policies, again, it's a very complex issue, that how as per their economic social setup, to how to incorporate certain kind of things which maybe look good at the international level, but but has a problem in the implementation at the domestic level. Third point is lack of political will. Again, and I think all the colleagues and the presenters here, they have so and so for talking about that government should do this, government should do that, government. Yes, I think that is the key element, because again, it's a top to bottom approach. Till the government comes out with a very effective implementation of these, it looks after that, these things are properly implemented. It's very hard, to achieve those kind of goals and entire sustainable development framework. And obviously, lack of expertise, as my title suggests, that it's a very technical aspect. So we require more of technical people as well. So in fact, a lawyer needs to have a good amount of knowledge that, when advocating these kind of issues. Economy and sustainable technology again plays a very important role, because when you are trying to, so I think one of the questions were, what is the alternative? Alternatives are very, very expensive. So we have to understand that if you're incorporating solar or incorporating hydro, we need to cut down the cost. We need to make certain areas, and we need to come out with certain a matrix where we can give a product which is in the market, which is affordable for the citizens and for the government as well. Moving forward, these are certain kind of measures which I believe, one is government funded projects and qualitative research, which I've again so and so forth putting a lot of stress into it, that we need to have more and more research in these areas. Also incorporating curriculum in primary, secondary and tertiary in achieving ocean sustainability. Applying, finding alternative sustainable sources of energy for operation of the vessel, applying environmental consciousness while framing any policy, law or rules, encouraging sustainable consumption and consumerism, ensuring effective environment training to the seafarers, transparency in reporting and documentation process, ratio of representation from the developed, developing and least developed countries is very important. Cooperation and inclusiveness of all the stakeholders again plays a very important role while we are drafting or doing any kind or taking any decision with respect to this industry. Member states require strong assessment tools and updated technology to examine and interrogate scientific and technical part of the issue. So to conclude, I would like to say that the nature of maritime industry and the organization like IMO and UNCLOS, it has to be now work in the mainstream with the players like World Trade Organization or UNEP. It has to be in the forefront now, because during the pandemic, people might have, I don't know how many of us know, but shipping industry was the industry which was, moving on and forth. In fact, like there were seafarers which, they haven't came back for like 8 to 9 months back to their home because the pressure was that much. So I think it is the time and the urge that we require. And that time the burden was so much on the aquatic life that we have lost billions of species. So now we're in the era of extinction. So let's stop there and think about it. Everything is getting extinct. Many of the species we are leaving. So I don't know what future is going to see, but today itself is very important for us. So thank you. Any questions?
Okay, Apurva, very nice presentation and a different topic you have taken. on this marine pollution.
Yes, ma'am.
Related aspect. And therefore, one thing I want to know this, the first goal of this 14 target is that reduce marine pollution. Now we can see a number of articles, and we have also done some work on this plastic pollution in sea.
Yes.
Therefore, it is very high compared to this other pollution. I think it is equal to oil pollution now. And therefore, we have to take some remedial measures to tackle this plastic pollution.
Yes,
this is also a very important issue nowadays, because to protect our different marine organisms, we have to prevent this pollution of marine environment with plastic.
Indeed.
Therefore, it is I think it is a very important issue we have to consider. Okay,
Indeed.
Apurva.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
It was indeed an excellent topic and very nicely presented. And I did deal with admiralty and maritime law, so I know how difficult and technical it is. And I want to just share one example, which you probably know, that sometimes the captain of the ship, they need to throw oil to balance the ship in the water. And it happened, when I started my career, that's Friendship Hospital, that's a floating hospital for the first floating hospital in Bangladesh. So one morning, I heard from the discussion of the directors that the captain threw the oil in the water. So for protecting the ship, sometimes they do something which really they spoil the water, damage the environment, water environment. So yes, it's a fantastic topic. Thank you very much, and learned many things from your presentation.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Now I would like to call upon Mr. Ayush Kar, who is to present upon global goal on adaptation. So if you are here, you can take over. Okay. Next, I would like to call upon Mr. A. Balaguru, who is to present upon international laws on environment and sustainable development. Before concluding, I would like to invite our honorable chairs to address the gathering and share their valuable inputs and feedback. Over to you, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Okay, I am very happy to chair this session, and I think there are 8 presenters in this session, isn't it? Therefore, they have presented their views very well, and I congratulate all the presenters for their nice presentation. And also, I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to chair this session. Thank you.
Organization along with the ma'am. She has much more knowledgeable than me. She knows many technical things which I also don't know. I learned many things from this session, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thanks to the organizer for inviting me for sharing this technical session with ma'am. And the topics that the presentation, each and every presentation, I learned something. Only not that I was listening, I was taking notes that yes, this is something new I have learned today. So thank you to you all for giving me the opportunity from Bangladesh. This pandemic, the plus side of pandemic is that we have started this virtual meeting, which make us to see each other without traveling from here to there. So everything has good side and bad side. The good side of this pandemic is this, that today I'm having these opportunities sitting in front of you and listening to you all. Thank you very much for inviting me. And special thanks to Ms. Rashmi ma'am, very near and dear friend and senior respected madam to me. So thank you, Rashmi ma'am, as well.
Thank you so much, ma'am. From the side of organizers, Dr. Jaya, Ms. Rizwana Yusuf, having you on the panel was such an honor to DME Law School, and I think also to the presenters. Now I give the I ask the volunteer student organizer Meher to proceed with the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much. So we have Dean ma'am here with us. Ma'am, I would like to invite you to share your feedback as well.
I did not, sorry, I was not present throughout the session, but I was in all the sessions, but my heartfelt thanks and sincere gratitude to Rizwana ma'am. She's joined us from Bangladesh, and she's a pioneer in her own field, and I have heard her physically one of the programs at Indian Law Institute. She is a marvelous speaker. That was her address on human rights, and I'm so grateful to you, Rizwana ma'am, for being here, and her address and her personality left a remarkable mark from that time. And since that time, I think it's been more than 3 years before COVID that we met at ILI, one of the program. And since then, I've been thinking of inviting her to some program. And by God's grace, she's with us today. And we are really fortunate to have her here. And we'll invite her here shortly, physically too, because now the things are getting better. So we would wish, ma'am, specifically whenever you're here in India. So it's like, I think that is a sister relationship. You can come over anytime you are here in India. So we'll love to have you here at our campus. You're mute. I can't hear you. Ma'am, you're mute, Rizwana ma'am. Yeah.
Already applied for the visa. I'm just very eagerly waiting to visit India again. So I would love to visit you and Manikandan ma'am. So whenever I'll be able to visit, travel.
Yes. Thank you so much, Manikandan ma'am also. Ma'am, I hope you joined from Tamil Nadu, I guess, Durga?
Ma'am, she's Dr. Jaya. The profile name is different, but she's Dr. Jaya. She's from Kerala University.
Kerala, okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the session, the deliberations, because now it is a time that after this COP26, we felt that it's an individual responsibility. So we have to not start dwelling upon deliberating upon what is to be done at the individual level. What can we do? So we feel that we had Srimati Menaka Gandhi in the morning in the inaugural session. Madam Rizwana, she's honorable member of the Lok Sabha, Menaka Gandhi ji, and an activist on human rights as well as animal rights. And the best part was she spoke very well, though she had very less time, around 40 minutes she spent with us, but really insightful and something where she talked about reality. That it is not that she talked about something going to the level of US, China, Brazil, but she talked about Indian reality. What are we portraying and where are we? There is huge lot of gap. We've been listening to so many speakers worldwide about CO2 emissions, carbon dioxide. Nobody talks about methane. Nobody talks about the population challenge that the country like ours is facing. So that was really an eye-opener and a thoughtful one. We shall be sharing the recording of the inaugural session with each one, every speaker. And we wish to have you, Jaya ma'am, physically to our campus. Please do come over to the campus. Whenever you are in Delhi, we'll invite you though sometime, but whenever you are in Delhi, please do meet us.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Hopefully the deliberations were useful, and we will soon be coming out with a roadmap after this convention, this symposium, as to what have we done in furtherance of SDGs 2030. So what is our endeavor? We don't want to keep it just an academic conference, but we want to take one step further, because all our dignitaries, those who shall be joining the panels today and tomorrow in the panel discussion, everyone is associated with COP26. We have contacted them from UN website only. So they were directly or indirectly a part of the Glasgow Pact. So each one is doing some work in furtherance of SDGs 2030, be it in the field of science, humanities, law, or elsewhere, or health. So it would be a pleasure if you join all of us. We've shared the links with everybody. It would be a pleasure and an honor if you join for panel discussions also. One is today and one is tomorrow. Okay, Rizwana ma'am, hopefully we meet soon whenever you're here. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam.
To all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Gentlemen.
You
Thank
may.
you.
Thank you, Rizwana madam. Happy to meet you and
Here,
we got an opportunity to join with you. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Rizwana ma'am is a
ma'am.
wonderful speaker, ma'am. Jaya ma'am. Once you meet her, she will definitely leave a remarkable impact on you, and you would always wish to meet her. She's that kind of personality. So thankful to you, Rizwana ma'am. So thank you.
Very fortunate to meet her.
Thank you so
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for enlightening all of us. On this note, our 6th technical session for the International Symposium comes to an end. We are eternally grateful to our dignitaries, Professor Dr. Jaya DS and Barrister Rizwana Yusuf, and Dean Ma'am, Dr. Rashmi Nagpal, for sparing time for us and honoring us with your presence. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the speakers for their presentation and for sharing their valuable knowledge with all of us. With this, we conclude the event. Thank you for joining us. You may stay back to record your attendance by filling the form in the link posted in the chat box. Stay safe, everyone, and have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you, Sri Durga ma'am. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Rizwana madam. Okay, Rashmi madam. Okay, thank you.